My name's Alexander Lindley, and I'd like to talk about the subject of change. There's a fair bit of change going on in my life at the moment, which is partly why I'm prompted to record this vlog. And also, it's the time of year, getting very close to the autumn equinox now, where the seasons are changing, especially the length of night and day. I believe that at the autumn equinox and the spring equinox, the rate of change of the length of day and night is greatest. And conversely, at the summer solstice and winter solstice, there is no change for, a period of time. It's sort of the change is slowest. It's most stable, the length of night and day. So I say that because, I do think the seasons and the weather has quite a effect and influence on us as human beings, and I think that the natural state is one of change at the moment in that respect, and I think that can empower and give impetus for human beings to make changes. I.e., this time of year and also around the time of the spring equinox are actually really good time to make changes, especially difficult or major changes, because you've got the support of the natural energies and how they're changing all around you. So I find that this time of year can be quite exciting from that point of view. Perhaps for me at least, there can be a bit of sort of stagnation during the summer months, sort of June, July, August, and also because the weather's hot or fairly hot in the UK, fairly warm, then it's like less inclination to make changes, and it's the sort of summer holidays as well. And the beginning of September is traditionally the time where people go back to school or college or university. The new term starts, the new academic year starts. So it is a time for new beginnings, and that's kind of what I'm feeling at the moment, I suppose. I just wanted to sort of speak about that a little bit. So today in my flat, I felt the urge to do some spiritual space clearing, which I don't do very often, but I might do, 3 or 4 times a year, where I go around all the rooms of my flat clapping, sending my energy, the noise I make from clapping my hands together quite loudly, and sending this clapping energy, into all parts of the room, especially sort of the corners. And this is taken from Far Eastern practice, I think in Bali or somewhere like that, where the idea is that sometimes energy, spiritual, emotional, psychic energy can get a bit stuck, in somebody's living space, especially in sort of corners or whatever, and there's a sort of stagnation of energy. And the idea is that by clapping, you break up any stagnant energy, get it sort of moving. And so what I do is, I go around my flat, all the rooms, clapping, to shake up any stagnant energy. And then I open all the windows and, make a really big thing about that, and making sure I open as many windows as possible to get as much air through the flat as possible, to let some of the energy that's been sort of broken up or shaken up, stagnant energy, let it out, and new air kind of come in. And I find that quite sort of meaningful to do. It was taught to me 15, 20 years ago by a practitioner who did space clearing, I think following the Karen Kingston books and teachings. So I did that today, and when I get an urge to do that, it's a bit like the urge to declutter. I find that I inevitably accumulate possessions and paperwork and clothes and bits and pieces that some of which I don't use or stop using, or that fall into disrepair or broken or something. And every now and again, I find it important to just get rid of things that are broken or I'm not using or are old, or just taking up space in my cupboards for no reason really. And it's that kind of same feeling, wanting just to sort of get rid of what's no longer needed or useful, just to, and to make space for the new. and so that I've been with that energy today of, you know, kind of out with the old, in with the new, yeah, I also did a bit of house cleaning and just sort of got rid of some kind of cobwebs and stuff that have been, again, the things that accumulate in kind of corners and where you don't normally clean or harder to get to. So yeah, I'm feeling, you know, quite kind of excited, refreshed, rejuvenated by that. Giving me a little bit of boost of energy, and I've also been very prolific in my artwork. I love doing abstract art, and I've got various media that I use. And a couple of weeks ago, I bought a big box of 54 different tubes of coloured glitter, you know, different colours and different forms. And I do like this particular glitter set. It's produced by a company called Hemway, I think. I've got the box in front of me. Yeah, I kind of heartily recommend that to anyone who likes the idea of doing glitter art. And one of the things I love about glitter art, certainly the way I do it, it's very, very quick, you know. So I just get a sheet of paper. I'm using sort of A3 at the moment. In the past, I've used bigger sheets like A2 or A1. And I just, put a sheet out, and I have a big bottle of PVA glue. And so I kind of pour the glue onto the sheet of paper, or, you know, in a design or a pattern, or perhaps randomly. And then I might sort of spread the glue out a bit with my fingers or some other implement. And that doesn't take long to do at all. And then I usually select 4 colours of glitter, 4 separate glitter tubes. And I use those, and I sort of sprinkle the glitter on in various ways, you know, from different heights, different angles, with different sort of forces of strength. And so I produce various pieces of abstract art. I mean, I might show you some towards the end of this vlog, perhaps. So I've got them laid out on the floor, the ones that I did today. And then I let so that only takes, it takes as long as I want to, but, you know, I can do a piece in 5 minutes, but sometimes it might spend a little bit longer giving it some thought, and maybe the patterns, the way I use the glue is a bit more kind of intricate, involved. But it's quite quick, and then the piece of artwork need to dry, because the PVA glue otherwise will run everywhere. So I usually let it dry for 24 hours, and then I shake the excess glitter off. And you'll see when I show you that when I initially produce the piece of artwork, then, you know, most of the page, or a lot of the page, is kind of covered in glitter, but you know, only the parts that were sort of shaken over where the glue was will stick. So, you know, once it's dried out, when I sort of shake it off, then all the glitter is just sort of lying on the paper where there wasn't any glue, and just falls off, and you're kind of left with the design, the pattern, the form that you know, that was underneath. And that's another part of the process that I rather like, because, you know, when I produce a piece of glitter art, initially I don't know what the final piece is going to look like, because you know, you've just got a sheet of paper with lots of glitter on it, and once it's dried and I've shaken off the excess glitter, there'll be much less glitter that's actually still stuck to the sheet of paper. So there's a bit of fun, you know. It's like I produced a piece of artwork one day, and then the following day or the day after, you know, I've shaken off the glitter, and there's something that looks a bit different, and it's to be sort of uncovered or discovered. And I think I like the sort of symbolism of sort of uncovering things. You know, from all the kind of therapy I've done, you know, I like sort of uncovering things. You know, what's underneath, what's beneath. You know, what's the kind of underlying issue or theme or picture or feeling or thought or issue. So it's been quite fun. And I've also, apart from glitter art, I have been experimenting with just other media, really. I bought a small packet of small pom-poms made out of material in different colours, and I've been experimenting with using those for making art. And again, I might show you some of those in a bit, because they're also laid out on the floor. So that's been kind of going on for me today, and other changes. I'm not sure if I want to necessarily talk about them too much, because they are maybe a bit on the personal side for a YouTube that I'll probably, you know, put out to the whole world. So, I do like it when I have a period of change, because I've noticed in my life that I tend to be the person that goes through sort of quite long periods of sort of stagnation or difficulty or emotional pain or sort of struggle, or not being quite sure where I'm heading, and dealing with sort of deep dark issues that are inside me or to do with my past, and those periods of time are not very enjoyable really, and they're probably quite necessary. They're like the hard work, before I get the reward. But that was not really nice. And then after a while, after a number of usually weeks or months in a more sort of stagnated place, or a more place of struggle, then I get what I experience or call like a breakthrough time, and that's kind of what I'm experiencing at the moment. I've done the work, I've put in the work over the last sort of 3 or 4 months. I think this particular difficult period probably started around April, and now whatever it is that I was working on or dealing with, I've kind of moved beyond that, or I've broken through. I'm sort of so I kind of feel I've got more energy, more clarity, more sense of kind of purpose and desire to sort of, I suppose, move out into the world, because I do find that my pattern is that I tend to sort of go inwards, in times of sort of struggle or reflection or dealing with things, and then I kind of have less contact with the outer world, the outside world, my sort of friends and other people I'm involved with. And I still try to keep contact with friends, but it's really difficult. And then, when I'm in the kind of breakthrough phase like I am now, it's much easier to reach out to others and to send messages, phone people up and communicate, connect, arrange to meet up, and, be more out in the world. Well, I still notice that even though I do have more energy today, say, when I sort of step outside my front door, I kind of just don't necessarily like it very much. I mean, I live in Brighton on the seafront, and it's quite windy. It has been quite windy the last few days. And I really don't like it when I sort of step outside my front door and I feel like I'm being buffeted around by the wind. I almost feel attacked by the wind, and I don't feel sort of safe or comfortable or relaxed. It feels like a bit of a ordeal for me at the moment to go for a walk, when it's windy. Doesn't make me feel good. So yeah, but there are days when it's calmer, quieter, so I can go out my walks on other days. So I mean, in a way I feel a bit disappointed today, because I've kind of been in my flat for nearly all the day, and I did go out twice. I mean, just really briefly to take the rubbish out, and I tried to walk to the seafront, which isn't far away, but I just didn't like the windy conditions, so I've kind of been hiding away in my flat really. But today we've had quite a bit of sun. We've had some rain as well, so it's it feels like it's kind of appealing outside. Something about, because I can see through my window onto the sort of square and towards the sea, and there's something appealing about the brightness outside, but yet the wind is putting me off. So I mean, that's something to do with my inner machinations, because in the past, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I've rather enjoyed going outside when it's stormy or windy, and it's been a kind of positive experience, an exciting experience, an enjoyable experience. And at the moment it isn't. It triggers something deep and complex and unsettling, and almost like sort of traumatizing or re-traumatizing. So I think that I'm not really, I don't really believe in the value of sort of re-traumatizing myself unnecessarily. And I probably do need to have more of an indoorsy day today for various reasons. And I'll probably have a bath later. I find that quite helpful when I'm going through sort of turbulence or change. It's just something kind of grounding and supportive and comforting, about having a hot bath or very warm bath. It just sort of kind of brings me back into my body, and it just relaxes me physically and emotionally, and but sometimes I have to kind of push myself to do it. It's like I've kind of resistance. I mean, I've got time today. I haven't really had it very much in my diary for today, but I found things to do. But and I just I am kind of dealing with quite a lot of resistance, resistance to doing things, that either are good for me or would be helpful or desirable. It's like part of me feels that everything's a chore, and I want to sort of rebel against everything. Even the idea of having a bath is like a part of me thinks someone's forcing me to have a bath, and I don't want a bath, so I'm not going to have one. It's like a sort of rebellious thing, and I think I'm looking at quite a lot of issues around rebellion and my sort of inner rebel, my inner teenager, my inner adolescent, and how that sort of shows up in my life. And I kind of, I have to kind of acknowledge that I do have what I call an inner teenager, and I need to sort of kind of respect that part of me and can acknowledge that part of me, not try and sort of ignore it or squash it or something. So, it's like my inner teenager's trying to say something, when I kind of feel that resistance to doing various things. It's linked to procrastination, but maybe it's not quite the same thing. So maybe I need to have one of my dialogues. Sometimes when I'm struggling with some issue that's I kind of recognise it's to do with either my inner teenager or inner child, and the way to kind of move forward, move through that, move beyond that is to have some kind of dialogue where I let my inner teenager speak, either through writing, drawing, journaling, or even the 2-chair technique. I put 2 chairs out in my lounge, one for my, say, inner teenager, one for my adult self, and have that kind of dialogue, switching chairs. I think I may need to do that because not quite sure what's up with my inner teenager. I did this with my inner child yesterday, and that was either yesterday or the day before, and that was quite helpful. I came up with a sheet of of nice things I can do for my inner child, because I think a couple of days ago my inner child was quite distressed and feeling a bit neglected, and so I just did some of this kind of left hand, right hand writing, and I wrote down nice things that I can do for my inner child. And my inner child likes colour, looking at different colours, noticing colours, using colours in artwork, drawing, painting. My inner child likes looking outside, looking at my houseplants, looking at things that are non-demanding. So not looking at to-do lists or a broken appliance that needs fixing, something that's making a demand. But looking at I don't know, my houseplants or the pictures on my wall, or bits of furniture and the bed, and just the duvet covers, things that look nice or appealing but are not sort of demanding attention or work. And I think also my inner child likes food, nice food, coffee, and doing artwork, but easy artwork, artwork that doesn't require a great deal of kind of effort and concentration and time and precision, just sort of playful artwork. And my inner child also likes cuddly toys, and I've got a range of cuddly toys that I sort of bring out sometimes when perhaps I need to give my inner child some attention or connect with my inner child. Seeing a cuddly toy or even holding a cuddly toy can really help me connect to my inner child. So that can be really useful to do. So I did that a couple of days ago, and I think my inner teenager now needs some kind of attention. And the way I communicate with my inner teenager is a bit different to the inner child. My inner teenager is not interested in cuddly toys at all, but is interested in things like music, say. And I have been playing quite a bit of music today in the last hour or two that links into the kind of stuff I did listen to as a teenager. And gosh, I just feel a sort of wave of sort of sadness now. So I might need to kind of explore that a little bit. Sadness is usually associated with losses of one kind or another. And I think maybe or grieving, and I have been doing quite a lot of grieving recently for various things, not so much bereavements, but other kinds of losses. And also for my inner teenager, if I want to give him some attention, I can go around some shops, not necessarily buy anything, but just browse, the kind of shops that I would like to go around, when I was a teenager, sort of clothes shops, the sort of trendier, sort of younger person type shops, or kind of music shops, selling, there's not so many of these around now, but there are still one or two, or just sort of walk around Brighton where I live and, just look at the sort of pubs and clubs and other places that teenagers might want to go or hang out, and not necessarily go in them, but just to sort of be around that kind of energy and perhaps be around be around young people. I'm 61, but I'm sort of in that kind of adolescent energy, as I speak. So last night I found myself watching a film which had characters, well, not teenagers, but in their 20s really. It was a film about sort of traveling, in gap years or interrailing, this kind of thing. The characters in the film were perhaps, just out of university or still at university, and they were sort of backpacking and traveling around Europe. And I found myself drawn to that film, and it reminded me of my younger years. In my teenage years, I didn't really do a lot of foreign travel, but certainly in my early 20s, early to mid 20s, I did do a fair bit of foreign travel around Europe, interrailing and cycling and other things. So yeah, maybe I'm kind of connecting to that part of me. So my inner teenager needs some attention. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go around the shops today, but I could go around the shops. Mind you, tomorrow and Sunday they get really busy. But I think the main shops are going to be closing within half an hour or an hour, so probably not going to do that today. And anyway, I don't like being out in the wind, so that can wait. I sort of started this vlog talking about change, but actually now, with the energy and the theme of my inner teenager, my inner adolescent, and the fact that he's probably feeling a bit deprived or needing attention, or something's a bit up, or he doesn't feel satisfied or fulfilled, or he's missing something, and I know in the past what kind of things have helped me. Also, my inner teenager loves posters, posters that you buy of, music groups, bands, or film, publicity. So in the past, I have sort of bought posters of, pop bands that I liked when I was a teenager. Things like Blondie, The Police, The Jam, Dire Straits. Or I've bought my inner teenager, a poster of a film that kind of appeals to him. I think in the past, I think the Avengers series, the Avengers Endgame, or one of the Avengers films, I got a poster and stuck it up on the wall for a while. And at the moment I don't really have all that much money to buy things, but there's the stuff I can get for free. You just download from the internet and print a few things out. That's another thing I can do for my inner teenager. Make a collage of things that interest him, like music or films or other stuff. In the past I've done collages of, I don't know, beer and pubs and stuff like that. So if I can't go out somewhere physically today because of the wind, then maybe I can just browse the web and print out some things and make a collage. I think that can be quite fun. I find it a very creative process to just print out a set of images and then sort of cut them to shape and put them on a large sheet of paper, and that's very, I kind of been quite pleased with the end result. I think I've got to where I need to have gotten to in this vlog, but I think I will just show you the some of the glitter art that I've done today. So this is an example of some pieces drying out on the floor that where I haven't shaken off the excess glitter yet. Hope you can see them, and how there's different colours and assortments of colours, and each piece of artwork has got 4 different colours, all types of glitter, and also showing you on my flat now. These are the sort of small material pom-poms that I used. Yeah, just experimenting really. And another piece of art which is partly glitter art and partly I've got these coloured lollipop sticks which I've been using for my artwork. And here's one that, you know, with the glitter that's been shaken off that I particularly like. It's one of the first ones I did when I got my new glitter set a couple of weeks ago, and hope you can see it okay. I do like that one. I've always liked spirals, and yeah, so that's up on my wall now. So that's a change, because for a couple of weeks there was nothing on this door, and yet it's like a door that I often see because I often have it closed when I'm in my lounge. So yeah, I think that's probably about it. Yeah, maybe I'll just show you the view from my window, which is a really nice view. You know, I live in Brighton. I look over a square, and there's this sort of sea, there's a bandstand and the sea in the distance, and so it's a nice view. I'm really grateful to have it, very fortunate. And you can see the wind rustling in the trees. So yeah, buffeted around, and so it is quite blowy today. So yeah, I kind of, in a way, I find it a bit kind of regret, you know. I sort of feel a bit frustrated or kind of constrained that I don't really feel like going outside very much, and so I have to sort of make do with being indoors, and that's okay. I mean, and yeah, so yeah, so there's my vlog about change and the autumn equinox and the kind of things that I'm doing associated to change. And yeah, today's been a high energy day by my standards. I've achieved and done quite a lot. Yeah, and still got energy inside me, so don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of today. I mean, a bath will sort of slow me down a bit, but maybe I can squeeze out one or two more pieces of artwork first, or do some writing, or send an email or something. But yeah, I think probably the energy is going to sort of burn itself out, and yeah, I'll probably yeah, something I want to attend this evening actually, so I need to save a little bit of energy for that, something, you know, online, a sort of Zoom call. So there we are. I think I'll leave it at that. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you've got this far, and comments and feedback, welcome.